Good day to Ms.Nabillah and Mr. Jack. I'm Mongko Ching. Today, me and my group member, Bong Ching Ying, Lai Xing Yi, Rochelle, and Rosemary are going to present our presentation on the topic Perception towards e-wallets among consumers in Sarawak.
Introduction. Perception towards e-wallets among consumers in Sarawak is the topic for the group assignments. First, I will present about the study background for this assignment. An e-wallet, which works as a software on a mobile device, is the virtual version of a wallet. Consumers must use debit card, credit card, or online bank transaction to fill out these wallets with cash. To guarantee that user data and transactions are safe and secure, e-wallets also have strong internet security measures in place. For Malaysian consumers, e-wallets provide a variety of advantages to them. For instance, consumers can easily keep track of their spending due to the automated recording of their transactions by using e-wallets. This may be used to make purchases at participating physical and online retailers, as well as to send money to other e-wallets consumers. Since the popularity of smartphones, mobile data networks, and mobile internet apps continue to increase, the acceptance of e-wallets is increasing in Malaysia. The emergence of COVID-19 also contributes to this evolution. The rise in the usage is attributed to the recent relaxation of the COVID-19 regulation, which has allowed Malaysians to resume their normal everyday activities. The most popular semi-closed and open e-wallets applications in the Malaysian digital mobile payment industry have been identified through research conducted in partnership with the Any Intelligence. According to this research, Malaysia's most popular mobile e-wallets over the last 2 years have been Grab, Touch and Go e-wallets, Faith and Boost. Next, I will present about the problem statement for the researchers to carry out this assignment. Despite the growing acceptance of e-wallets as a digital payment option, a large portion of people still prefer using more conventional payment methods. It's critical to comprehend the variables that affect how people perceive e-wallets, including their perceptions of the advantage of the e-wallets, their worries, and the level of trust they place in the technology. This would make it easier to spot adoption obstacles and guide the development of strategy to boost the market acceptance of the e-wallets. The goal of the issue statement is to ascertain the variables that affect people's attitudes regarding e-wallets and to comprehend the causes of some people's reluctance to use this technology. I will present about the aim and objectives for the researcher to carry out these assignments. The main objective is to identify the perceptions towards e-wallets among consumers in Sarawak. And besides these main objectives, the researcher carried out this assignment to study the consumer's preference towards e-wallets, to identify the factors influencing the perceptions towards e-wallets among consumers in Sarawak, and also to identify the problem faced by the consumers in Sarawak towards e-wallets.
I am Bong Ching Ying. Now I will present about literature review. The study by MD Waisha Karim et al. 2020 investigate the factor influencing the use of e-wallet as a payment method among Malaysian young adults and show that behavioral intentions significantly affect actual usage. The sample size used in the study was 289, with GrabPay having the higher numbers of users 101, representing 34.14% of the sample. Perceived usefulness, which saves time and is convenience, positively influence behavior intentions. Perceived ease of use was also found to be crucial for improving the usefulness and behavioral intentions. Therefore, e-wallet providers should prioritize developing user-friendly applications to encourage more young adults to adopt e-wallets as a payment method in Malaysia. Pawan Sri Kustona et al. 2020 studied the factors that influence the use of e-wallet for transaction payments among college students. The study of 180 students found that e-wallets are more beneficial than cash payments due to quick transactions and real nominal payments. Perceived simplicity of use was more important than app quality. The study emphasized the need to understand consumer behavior and suggests that e-wallet providers should focus on developing user-friendly applications to increase adoption among college students for transaction payment.
Now I will presenting on literature review. The first literature that we use as a guidance is a study on user perceptions towards selected e-wallet, Google Pay and Paytm amongst college students, which is written by Esther Krupa in 2023. This research have 150 respondents and most of the respondents are highly satisfied with the e-wallet they are using as the result of this research. The factor which influence their perception is ease of use, cashless payment, convenience, time saving, and security. The second literature is perceived usage of e-wallet among the Y generation in Surabaya based on technology acceptance models, which had three authors, Pertiwi, Suprapto, and Pratama, done in 2020. This research have 184 respondents, and the result for this research is perceived usefulness has a positive and significant impact on perceived usage of e-wallet as the payment instrument among the Y generation in Surabaya. This research helped us to find the relationship between the perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use of consumer towards using an e-wallet.
Now I will talk about the methodology. First, I will talk about the type of research. The quantitative research design will be used in this research. It is depending on numerical data such as statistics and mathematical analysis to investigate specific questions. Quantitative research is aimed to find out the answer to who, what, where, how, and when through the course of research level. The next one will be data collection method. In this report, a self-administered questionnaire is used. It is a method that can be delivered through online or social media. All questions are standardized so that all respondents receive the same question with identical wording. Therefore, a Google Form questionnaire is designed and sent to numerous consumers in Sarawak via social media to gather data and opinions. The next one will be population and sample. The population of this study is the group of all consumers in Sarawak. The researchers have been used an online questionnaire to collect the data needed, which involved the use of a Google Form. The convenient sampling method, which selected respondents who are easily accessible and readily available to the researchers, was used to conduct the survey. For instance, the researchers used social media platforms to share the Google Form link from friends, family members, and colleagues. It guarantees that the researchers will only gather data from Sarawak individuals. Additionally, there is no age limit for the respondent, and this online survey involves 75 consumers. The next one will be the questionnaire design. The researchers have conducted a questionnaire survey using Google Form to collect data. The survey consists of 4 parts: Section A, Section B, Section C, and Section D. Each part comprises multiple-choice questions. Section A aims to gather demographic information about the respondents, including their age, gender, occupation, and income. Section B focuses on the respondent preference regarding e-wallets such as Sarawak Pay, Touch and Go, Boost, Shopee, and GrabPay. This section helps us to understand the consumer preference toward e-wallets. Section D deals with the factors that influence the perception of consumers in Sarawak towards e-wallet. Respondents could indicate their level of agreement using 5 levels of the Likert scale, which are strongly disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. The questions in this session cover the convenience, trackability, and manageability of e-wallet transaction. Finally, Section D consists of questions about the issue faced by the consumer in Sarawak while using e-wallets. Similar to question C, respondents could indicate their level of agreement according to the likely scale. The questions in this section include concerns about security and additional charges associated with e-wallets. For the data analysis method, a 5-point Likert scale instrument has presented in the table to simplify the process of collecting information from respondents and facilitate analysis of their agreement levels. Additionally, the researchers ensured to the report the frequency and percentage of the central tendency of the data. Frequency indicates the number of times an event occurs in the collect data and is a commonly used measure in research. In table, the researchers present the mean score range, which help the researchers to identify the variables that affect the perception of consumers in Sarawak towards e-wallets. This can be calculated by multiplying the frequency and scores of each item on the Likert scale and dividing the total by the number of respondents. To calculate the overall mean, the researchers used the average formula.
Now I'm going to talk about the data analysis method of our questionnaire conducted. Let's say there is two factors affect consumers' perception. We put it F1 and F2. The total number of respondents is 50 people. For F1, 25 people vote 5, which is strongly agree. 15 people vote 4, which is agree, and 10 people vote 3, which is neutral. This is how we are going to calculate the mean. For 25 people vote 5, we multiply 25 and 5. Then we plus 15 multiply 4 and plus 10 multiply 3. We will get a total score of 215. Then the 215 are going to divide it by the total number of respondents, which is 50 people. We will obtain the mean score of 4.3. For F2, it is similar to F1. 30 multiply 5 plus 70 multiply 4 plus 3 multiply 3. We will get a total score of 227. Then we divide it by 50. We will obtain the mean score of 4.54. For the overall mean score, we take the average mean score of F1 and F2, which gives us an overall mean score of 4.42.
Next, I will present about the part of data analysis and findings. In this part, we have divided into 6 sections, which are Section A, talk about the demographic profiles, Section B, consumer preference towards e-wallets, Section C and Section D, we will share about the factors influencing and problem faced by the consumers in Sarawak towards e-wallet transaction. And the last 2 sessions of the data analysis and findings part, we will talk about the pivot table and the scenario manager. Firstly, I will talk about the gender and age of the respondent of this research. Based on the first figure, which is the gender pie chart, the data show that the majority of the respondents were female, accounting for 74.7% of the total respondents, which was 75 respondents. There were only 19 male respondents, which were 25.3% of the 75 respondents. This suggests that the study may have a gender bias toward female perspective. According to the another figure, which is the age pie chart, out of the total of 75 respondents, only 1 respondent was below the age of 18 years old, and the majority of the respondents were between the age of 18 to 24, accounting for 70.7% of the total respondents. However, the sample size for older age group is small, with 2.7% of respondents being between the age of 35 to 44, and 4% of respondents being between the age of 45 to 54, and 5.3% of respondents being aged 55 and above. This concluded that the study may be more relevant or appealing to younger audience. The other two demographic profile will be presented by other group members.
To provide a demographic profile, we need to gather data about certain population characteristics, including occupation and income. Based on the data provided, the majority of the respondents were students, comprising 60% of the total respondents. Housewives has the lower percentage, accounting for only 2.7% of the total respondents, which translates to 2 respondents. These findings are illustrated in figure occupation. Most respondents are students because our group sent the Google form to respondents similar age to us. Based on the figure income, it can be observed that the majority of the 75 respondents had a monthly income of less than 2,500 ringgit, according for 74.7% of the respondents. Meanwhile, 2.7% report earning between 3,500 ringgit and 4,500 ringgit per month. This finding suggests that most of the respondents had a monthly income of less than 2,500 ringgit because most occupation is student that may not have a job.
This section, we are talking about consumer preference towards e-wallet. As the pie chart shows, all 75 respondents had experience using e-wallet, but the e-wallet that they prefer to be used in daily life is different. 38.7% of respondents prefer to use Sarawak Pay. 29.3% of respondents prefer to use Touch and Go. 12% of respondents prefer to use Shopee Pay. 10.7% of respondents prefer to use GrabPay, and another 9.3% of respondents prefer to use Boost. This shows that most of the respondents in Sarawak are prefer to use Sarawak Pay in their daily life. In this section, we will talking about the factor influencing consumer perceptions towards e-wallet. The first factor is convenience. The majority of respondents, which is 45.3%, stay strongly in agreement, whereas 34.7% agree and 14.6% selected neutral towards the statement. Around 2.7% of respondents disagree with the statement and another 2.7% of respondents remain strongly opposed. The mean score of 4.17 reveals strong positive agreement that e-wallet have become convenient. The second factor is the transaction can be managed and trackable. Around 69.3% of respondents agree and strongly agree that they use an e-wallet because it can track and manage the transaction, whereas around 21.3% of respondents stay neutral and only around 9.4% of respondents disagree or strongly disagree with this statement. The mean score of 3.97 indicates strong positive agreement that an e-wallet can easily track and manage money transactions. Besides, have a chance to receive rewards and incentives also one of the factors that influence consumer perceptions. According to the table, most of the respondents, which is 33.3%, stay neutral that e-wallet have a chance to receive rewards and incentives, whereas 26.7% of respondents and 32% of respondents who remain agree and strongly agree about this factor. Only 8% of respondents are not interested in the rewards and incentives of e-wallet. The mean score of 3.75 demonstrates strong positive agreement regarding the use e-wallet because it has a chance to receive rewards and incentives.
For the cashless payment, the mean score of 3.96 confirms the strong positive agreement with this factor. This is supported by the figures below. 69.7% of respondents strongly agree or agree that cashless payment is one of the reasons they use an e-wallet. 24% of respondents stay neutral, whereas 6.6% of respondents show that cashless payment will not be the factor that influence them to use an e-wallet in their daily life. And for the time saving, results from the figure below show that 41.3% of respondents agree strongly and 29.3% agree that they use less time to obtain an e-wallet. There were 14 respondents and 80.7% select neutral towards the statement. Only 6.7% of them remained to disagree and 4% strongly disagree with the statement. The mean of 3.97 supports a strong positive agreement regarding e-wallets taking less time.
Now I am going to discuss the section D of our questionnaire, which is the problem faced by consumers in Sarawak toward e-wallet transaction. The first problem is concerned about security. From the data obtained, we can see that 36% of the respondents strongly agree, while only 4% of the respondents strongly disagree. There is 20% of the respondents staying neutral. From the data, we can see that more than half of the respondents have concerns about security of e-wallet. The second problem is e-wallet may not be accepted or compatible everywhere. From the data, we can see that 40% of the respondents strongly agree, while there is none of the respondents strongly disagree with this matter. Similar to the first problem, more than half of the respondents show that they are afraid e-wallet may not be accepted or compatible everywhere.
There are another three problems that faced by the consumers in Sarawak towards e-wallet transaction. One of them are additional charge is available. According to this bar chart, the majority of the respondents, which is 30.7% of the 75 respondents, stay neutral, while 28.0% of the respondents say agree with this statement, and 18.7% of the respondents disagree, and 13.3% of the respondents strongly disagree with the statement additional charge is available in the e-wallet, while only 9.3% of the 75 respondents are strongly agree with this statement. This statement has the lowest mean score, which is 2.71 only, which indicates that respondents do not receive any additional charge with the e-wallet. They do not really think that additional charge is available is the problem that faced by them while using the e-wallet transaction. Time consuming to make money transfer is another problem faced by the consumers in Sarawak towards e-wallet transactions. According to these figures, respectively 18.7% of the 75 respondents strongly agree and disagree towards the statement of time consuming to make money transfer through e-wallets, while 33.3% of respondents choose neutral and 22.6% of respondents agree with the statement. Only 6.7% of the 75 respondents strongly disagree with the statement mentioned earlier. The mean score for this statement is 3.28, which shows that there is moderate positive agreement. The last problem faced by the consumers in Sarawak towards e-wallet transaction is reliance on mobile device and internet connectivity. According to these figures, most of the respondents strongly agree with this statement. That is 40.0% of the 75 respondents, while 33.3% of respondents agree with this statement and 20.0% of respondents choose neutral. This statement is disagreed with by just 4.0% of the respondents, while only few percentage, that is 2.7%, and of the 75 respondents strongly disagree with this statement that e-wallets reliance on mobile device and internet connectivity. The mean score for this statement is 4.04, indicating a strong positive agreement.
Now I will talk about the factor means. The mean score of each element and factor is shown in the table. According to the following graph, Sarawak consumers find convenience to be the most alluring reason to use an electronic wallet. Convenience has a higher overall mean score, 4.17, than the other variables. This demonstrates unequivocally that using an e-wallet is more practically than paying cash because they can send and receive money using their digital wallets, making it simpler than ever to split a payment. The mean score for time savings and trackable and managed transactions, however, is 3.97. Customers today are busy. Thus, they desire a quicker payment so that they may avoid waiting a long time for money to change. Consumers no longer need to save the receipt because they can follow their transaction using the transaction history. The average score for cashless transaction is 3.97, which also suggests the consumers in Sarawak are taking this into consideration. The likelihood of receiving incentive and price has the lowest total mean score, 3.75, but the positive score still demonstrates that consumers will use e-wallet as a result of this aspect.
Next, the comparative analysis among 5 problem facts. The chart shows the overall mean of 5 factors. Based on this figure, it shows that the highest mean score, 4.09, is recorded for concerns about acceptance and compatibility of e-wallet, suggests that some of the locations may not yet support the use of e-wallet, which concern the e-wallet users in Sarawak. This is closely followed by concerns about reliance on mobile devices and internet connectivity, with the mean score of 4.04. Besides, the mean score for security also relatively high. This means that consumers Sarawak may hesitate to use e-wallet due to worries about safety of their personal or financial information. The lowest mean score is 2.71 for additional charges. It seems that it is the least problematic issue for Sarawak consumers.
Next, I will present about the pivot table for the results collected from this study. My group member and I have used Microsoft Excel to create the pivot table. We can analyze and categorize the disorganized data in a short time with the aid of the pivot table. The researchers can use the functions of filter and slicer to acquire the needed data. For instance, the slicer can be used to determine the percentage of respondents who strongly agree with the statement, and the pivot table will classify the data based on specific demographic characteristics like gender, age, income, and occupation. The quantity and demographic profile of the respondents within a particular range will be shown clearly in the pivot table. The pivot table created can reveal that there were total 75 respondents. There are 56 female respondents, which are highlighted by the pink color, and 41 of them are between age of 18 and 24. 11 of them aged 25 to 34 years old, and only one of them respectively is aged 45 to 54 and below 18 years old, which all are highlighted by the purple color. On the another hand, there are 19 male respondents which highlighted by blue color. 12 of them between age of 18 and 24. One of them is aged 25 to 34 years old, and 2 of them respectively are between the age of 35 to 24, while 45 to 54 and 55 and above are all only 2 respondents. The respondents' data are organized in the pivot table according to their gender, age, occupation, and income.
The Scenario Manager table compares rewards earned from different payment methods for various transactions. Boost does not offer rewards for any transaction. For online purchase, Sarawak Pay earns the higher rewards at 20%, where from in-store purchase, Sarawak Pay earns 11.24% rewards. The total rewards earned are 0% for Boost, 7.14% for GrabPay, 14.29% for ShopeePay, 21.42% for Touch and Go, and 28.56% for Sarawak Pay. In the conclusion, the study explored consumer perceptions of e-wallet in Sarawak and found that convenience is important, but 40% of respondents felt e-wallets may not be accepted everywhere. E-wallet providers should improve their service to increase acceptance among merchants. Future research could investigate other factors that influence consumer behavior towards e-wallets, such as security and ease of use. Larger studies with diverse samples would provide more strong findings.
This study on perception towards e-wallet among consumers in Sarawak has several limitations that future study can address. Firstly, the sample size used in this study may not be sufficient to generalize the finding to the entire population of Sarawak. Additionally, this study has a limited representation of age, occupation, and income groups, which may not reflect the diversity of the population. Moreover, this study did not consider cultural difference in consumer behavior towards e-wallets, which is an important factor that could influence consumer behavior. To overcome this limitation, future study could conduct a larger sample size study and include a more diverse representation of age, occupation, and income group to better reflect the population of Sarawak. Additionally, future study could expand the factor and problem assessed in the study to include other relevant factors that influence consumer behavior towards e-wallet, such as trust, brand reputation, and familiarity with the technologies. User experience and customer service are other important factors to consider when assessing consumer behavior towards e-wallet. The quality of customer service provided by e-wallet provider may also influence consumer behavior. Future study could focus on this factor to gain a better understanding of consumer behavior towards e-wallet in Sarawak.
For the recommendation, nowadays people prefer to make payments electronically rather than physically. This is due to the fact that e-wallets bring a lot of benefits to their consumers. However, in this study, researchers discovered that many users struggle with the problem of their e-wallets not always being accepted or compatible everywhere. Hence, the researchers recommend that the government should make the effort to encourage innovation in the e-wallet sector by providing small businesses funding or support for them to develop new e-wallet technologies. This might encourage innovation and boost e-wallet compatibility and acceptance. Besides that, the researchers suggest that the government should work with the private companies to improve internet connectivity in order to address the issue of e-wallet reliance on mobile devices and internet connectivity. The government can collaborate with telecommunication companies in some rural areas to expand broadband networks. As a result, e-wallets can be used in a variety of locations, whether they are urban or rural. Last but not least, the researchers recommend that consumers should always enable two-factor authentication on their e-wallet accounts. All consumers should implement an additional layer of security by requiring a second form of verification, such as a code sent to their mobile phone, in order to decrease their concern about the security of the e-wallets. Although there are many locations now offer the public Wi-Fi for the user, users should use it wisely when paying with an e-wallet in a store, Consumers should always access it through a secure connection such as a private Wi-Fi network or virtual private network such as VPN.
That's all from our group. Thank you for listening.